Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eastwood for Life fan here, back with another monthly movie pickups update, and this is a movie pickups update for the month of September 2022. And in this update we have the one DVD, mainly Blu-rays, and some 4K movie titles. And the first DVD, which was actually sent to us by Nick, the last shoegazer, in our recent trade package, and a couple of titles I've shown that I'll just quickly show. And this one was a freebie of a early 1990s western, Posse, directed by Mario Van Peebles, who actually appeared in the movie also, with Stephen Baldwin and Billy Zane, as well as a couple of rap stars in Tony Loke and Big Daddy Kane. A western that's always kind of passed me by. Always wanted to watch this one back in the 90s. And you also get, I think it's more of a cameo performance by Isaac Hayes and also Pam Grier. Yeah, western from the 1990s that I've never seen before. The Untold Story of the Wild West. And on to the Blu-rays, and the first one being two westerns, not American westerns, but they are actually Mexican westerns from an American US label, Vinegar Syndrome, which puts out great releases, giving special treatment for kind of cult movies. And it's like a double feature of two Mexican westerns from the 1970s. The first one being Hot Snake, directed by Fernando Duran Rojas. And the second western is Guns and Guts by Rene Cardona Jr. This one from 1974 and this one from 1976. Comes with the slipcover, limited to 6,000 copies. Hot Snake is kind of more of a dark and gothic looking western, while Guns and Guts is kind of more of a western paying homage to the American director Sam Peckinpah. Two Mexican westerns I've never seen before, and they do look like they have a spaghetti western look about these movies, with the artwork and the trailers which I have seen. So some new westerns to check out from Vinegar Syndrome. I'm pretty curious to know if they are going to release any more kind of rare and unknown westerns on their label. A couple of movies from that trade package sent to us by Nick, which I'll just quickly whiz through. This one, a early 1960s Steve McQueen movie, romantic drama comedy with Natalie Wood, Love with the Proper Stranger, the US Kino Lorber release. Black and white movie. I did show that in a trade package video. I did have a different cover. I swapped it over. Much preferred the original poster, and looking forward to doing a Steve McQueen collection video at some point. One of my favourite actors. And a freebie that Nick did send out to us is this movie from 2019 from the writer of The Shallows. This is Mary, starring Gary Oldman. And have checked out a trailer of this movie about a family kind of they're looking to start kind of like a charter boat business, and they buy this old boat, but it has got terrifying secrets as soon as the boat hits the waters. So yeah, Gary Oldman, very good actor in this movie named Mary, which I don't know too much about. The next two movies are two John Woo movies, actually both starring John Travolta from the 1990s. The first one is Broken Arrow, John Travolta and Christian Slater. Travolta plays this kind of US pilot who steals two nuclear warheads, only to have his co-pilot played by Christian Slater on the trail of finding where he is. A pretty good action movie, this one. Broken Arrow from 1996. And then the following year, in 1997, John Woo directed John Travolta again in this worldwide box office hit, Face Off. John Travolta with Nicolas Cage. And I did show this in one of my last videos in that trade with Nick, the Last Shoegazer, and I did actually say this was the director's extended cut, which is not quite correct. It's actually the uncut version of the movie, which has an extra 7 seconds long, and it's a special collector's edition which has a lot more extra special features. So yeah, information was slightly wrong, but this one's a great action movie. And actually the writers did originally want Stallone and Schwarzenegger to appear in this movie, and even Johnny Depp actually read the script, but he turned it down to be in the movie Face Off, which is one of my favourite Travolta and Nicolas Cage movies. Great movie, this one. The next two movies are cheap buys from my local CX store. The first one being Gangs of New York, the Martin Scorsese movie, which won many Academy Awards with a great cast. DiCaprio, Danny Day-Lewis and Cameron Diaz. I've got to be honest, when I watched this one way back, I wasn't overly impressed. Found it was a little bit too long. I think it's near the 3-hour mark. This one's set in New York in the early 1860s. Actually won the Best Picture, Best Actor and Best Director, but I'm going to give this one another shot because Scorsese is a great director. I love his work, but this one, hoping that second time viewing it's going to be a better viewing experience for me. Gangs of New York. And the next movie that I bought for a very reasonable price in CEX is Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, who's kind of more known for his role as Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad, and then he appeared in the spin-off series Better Call Saul, which I enjoyed the first season. And in this movie, from the writer of John Wick, the movie Nobody, and this one really does look like a completely different character, and he even has a different look about him in this movie, as he plays a family man who gets his house burgled by thieves. And this is always a movie I wanted to check out. Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk. If you've noticed in the last 4 or 5 monthly updates, I've been picking up a lot of Denzel Washington movies, and these are 3 Denzel Washington movies. I'm near the end of the list of movies that I do need to kind of finish off his career, but this one was a huge surprise to see a release of, and it's Ricochet. Not a official release. This is actually a Spanish grey release, Ricochet, which is a much wanted movie from the career of Denzel Washington to be released on Blu-ray. This one from the early 1990s. Always remembered watching this one back in the VHS days. Denzel Washington goes up against John Lithgow, who always plays a great villain, and you also got rap star Ice-T in this movie. And Denzel Washington, he plays a assistant district attorney who is hunted down by a madman and criminal who he put away years ago as a young cop, who now is hunting him down. Ricochet. And I have checked this one out. It does play with an English audio, and the picture quality is pretty good, and you can pick this one up on Amazon, Ricochet. So for you Denzel Washington movie fans, try and grab a copy of Ricochet. The next Denzel Washington movie is actually a remake from the 1960s. John Frankenheimer classic from the 60s, starring Frank Sinatra. But this one's a modern day remake from early 2000s. Also starring Meryl Streep, directed by Jonathan Demme, the director of Silence of the Lambs. The Manchurian Candidate. And the last Denzel Washington movie is The Great Debaters, and this is a US release, a movie from 2007 that was directed by Denzel Washington, also starring Forrest Whitaker. This one's actually based on a true story about a professor in the 1930s, and a team of black students. They kind of form a debate team that goes up against the Harvard University, and it's kind of like a historic true story movie. Not a role that Denzel Washington can't do. I mean, such a great actor. This is The Great Debaters, one that I've never seen before, and as far as I know, I think is the only release on Blu-ray. The Great Debaters, late 2007 movie, this one. On to the 4Ks now, and another Western, and this was also part of that trade package from Nick. A movie that I don't think has a UK release. This is News of the World, a Western starring Tom Hanks, a Civil War veteran who takes on the job to deliver a young girl to their rightful family, and they have to travel many miles together. And this one actually does look like a good Western that caught my eye way back, and I have waited for a UK release, but it doesn't look like we're going to get a UK release of this Western. And Tom Hanks does look good on the saddle in this one, News of the World. The next movie is a collector's edition, which I have done a separate video of, and it is the 4K Ultimate Collector's Edition, limited collector's edition of Poltergeist. Classic horror movie directed by Toby Hooper, about a family that is haunted by ghosts in their house, which appear to be friendly from the start, but then they take an interest into the young girl, and they eventually kidnap her. So guys, if you missed out that video, I did do an unboxing of this great edition of Poltergeist, which is a horror classic from the early 1980s, so do check out that video. And another collector's edition, which I did pick up, which I do plan on making a video of, the erotic thriller from the 1980s. This is Fatal Attraction from 1987. A married man who has a one-night stand and comes back to haunt him as she terrorizes him and his family. Great movie, this one, a worldwide hit back in the late 1980s, starring Michael Douglas, Glenn Close and Anne Archer. And this is the 4K collector's edition. And at that time in the late 80s and early 90s, you had a lot of these kind of like romantic or erotic thrillers like Jagged Edge, Basic Instinct, that came out. Fatal Attraction for me is the best one out of the bunch. Great movie. And the last 4K title, which is actually a movie that I originally wasn't planning to pick up, but so many people have said how good this movie is, and that is June, the remake. I actually never saw the original June movie, and kind of one that I wasn't really interested in seeing, directed by David Lynch. But this one, the remake, June, it really does look like it's beautifully shot, and the reviews of this movie have been very good, and I think they're planning on making a sequel to this movie, June. And I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan, but we're going to give this one a shot, see how good this movie is. June, the remake, the new remake of the original movie that was made in the 1980s. So guys, there are all the movies that I picked up and got sent to us in September 2022. Let me know your thoughts on some of those movies, and always good to hear from you guys. Hope you enjoyed what I picked up. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next video. Keep on collecting.
Go ahead. Make my day.